Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to get everything settled here. Oh, here we go. Oh, the chat. How is this? Wow. Okay, that was quick. Okay, great. I have to say I'm new with this format. I usually use I. Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to make that go away. Okay. So I'm new to this format. I usually use Zoom, but each time I give these free classes, I'll often have like 2 or 3,000 people sign up for it. And so then what I do is I like upgrade my webinar so I can accommodate everybody, and it's very expensive. And then I found Restream. I use them for my 2023 yearly forecast. So I'm using it today, but I could not figure something out like 5 minutes before class. I'm like, anyhow, so I may be showing my PowerPoint here and then looking up my notes over here. And anyhow, it is what it is. So it'll work. Thank you all for being here. I apparently can't have YouTube open because I was hearing my voice kind of come back to me, but it seems like everybody's chat is coming through over here. So I think I can see everything. So that should be good. Hi, everyone. Sorry. Little chaotic, like few minutes leading up to class. Anyhow, all you can do is surrender at this point. So let me, okay, the lady on chat just was telling me how I can share my screen. You will have an option to choose what you wish to share. Oh, I don't think that's going to answer my question. All right, so let's see if I can figure this out. And I might be navigating back and forth in between the chat on this Restream and then my PowerPoint, and you guys might be seeing it all because I haven't figured out how to only share one tab. So let's see. Get it going, and then we'll dive in. I'm super excited for this class. Yeah, they say that there's a way for me to see how to just how to show one particular tab, but that is so not clear to me. So we're just gonna wing it. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen right now, right? Please let me know in the chat. Here's the deal. I can't look at the chat and show my screen at the same time. So I'm going to see everybody's chat for sure afterwards, and periodically I'll navigate from my screen, in which I guess I can just make large here. And I'm just going to go back to the studio Restream and make sure. Yes, you can see it. But now you can see Restream, right? And you can see me, right? Okay, good. All right, so we're just going to go with this the way it is. It's a little sloppy, but it's fine. All right. And you'll be seeing me look over there because I have my PowerPoint up with notes on another one. Okay, so welcome to my free masterclass, Pluto into Aquarius and the Transformation of Humanity. I am Divine Harmony, and you might already know who I am. But if you're new, I have a slide up about me in a second. This image, actually, we're not even on this image yet. The next image, the background was made for me by my student and sister, Susie Farmer, and then I added in the gold stuff. And of course, on the right-hand side, we have the Aquarius woman with her water. And then on the left-hand side, we have a butterfly, which is a symbol of transformation. And then, of course, Pluto is moving into Aquarius. Of course, these images look very like, love and light. I do want to say this talk is not all love and light. We'll be looking at the love and light, and we'll be looking at the shadow, because I really believe that only when we can see all of it can we be empowered to make conscious choices about how we're going to work with the energies, embrace them, and use them in transformational ways. So and if you know me and my work, you know that that's how I do things. So the masterclass overview. So we're going to talk about Pluto, the archetype of Pluto, Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius. We're going to look at the tarot symbolism behind this big shift coming in. I'll talk just briefly about the Age of Aquarius. I actually have a whole masterclass on that. It's like 2 hours long, so won't be going into that much depth, but I'll be touching in on it for a bit. I'll talk about the living sky astrology and the elements of water and ether. We talk about the karmic completion degree, what that is and why it's important. One thing that I had no idea was going to be coming into this masterclass is there's a lot of charts I'll be looking at for the United States of America, in part because the karmic completion degree is tied into the USA progress chart, but actually there's like more. And that was kind of a big reveal for me in the last week when I just started seeing all these things. Like, oh, I got to bring this in and this in. So you're going to get a good amount of astrological looking at the United States. I'm from the USA. Even if you're not, it could be of interest as we are all obviously interconnected, and what happens to one country can affect another. And I'll be talking about it. I'm going to talk about the Sabian symbol and star sparks degrees. I'm going to just briefly mention the gene keys. I study the gene keys, so I'm not like a master of it, but I started noticing the gene key connections to the Stargates. And when we get to that part, I'll explain myself more. We'll talk about the divine feminine. We'll talk about the major Pluto transits of Pluto in Aquarius during the whole 20 years that he'll be there. And then I end with a Q&A. So lots of content. This is being recorded. At least it's supposed to be. I don't know if there's like a button I'm supposed to press to make sure it's recording. I didn't even think of that. But you know what? I don't have time to look into that now. So let's just believe it's being recorded. And if it's not, maybe I'll re-record it, or maybe only the people who are here live get to watch it. Anyhow, so we'll close with a guided, or not a guided meditation. Sorry, we'll close with a Q&A. I'll tell you now, I'm going to offer everybody to gather with me on Thursday, the 23rd. Thursday, the 23rd. Pluto moves into Aquarius at 8:13 a.m. Eastern. And so I'm going to get on my YouTube channel at 7:45, and I'm going to do a guided meditation, and just whoever wants to come and join, we can gather together and call in the light as Pluto enters into Aquarius, tropical Aquarius. So this is me, and these are pictures of me in Ojai, actually. The forest that's behind it, oh my God, I'm spacing on it with the beautiful moon rocks, the white moon rocks. So I am Harmony. My real name is Harmony. Birth name is Harmony. I have been studying astrology for, oh God, I started when I was 18, 19, and I'm going to be 45. So whatever that is, 26, 27 years. I've been teaching for 15 or 16 years now, doing readings and writing. My background is depth psychology. I have my master's degree in depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute. I studied 6-7 years of shadow work with my shadow work teacher, Robert Masters. So my influence, is definitely astrology, but also psychology, and then spirituality. I'm an initiated priestess. I'm a mother. I'm a mystic. I'm into archetype and symbolism and etymology, the hidden meaning behind names and words. So all of that informs how I come at things. And if you know me, you already know all this about me. So it's just a short, brief intro. And sorry, I'm going to have to navigate for notes over here. So here is a beautiful picture of Pluto. Susie Farmer made this for me for one of my classes. She makes me these amazing cosmic, spiritual, images for all my classes. And we're going to be talking about Pluto and his light and his shadow. And this is a picture of me and my shadow from the Great Pyramid of Giza in October 2018, 5 years ago. I have to say, feels like it was like a year ago, and it feels like it was like 20 years ago. Anyhow, so everything has a light and shadow. Even Pluto, who is seen as very shadowy, or Saturn, who is seen as shadowy. has immense light. And then even planets that are seen as all positive, like Jupiter, for example, has a big shadow. And it's important to understand the two ends of that spectrum. In depth psychology, there's this term, it's called enantiodromia. And it means whenever something has gone on all the way to one side as far as it can, before it can find the middle point, it has to go equal and opposite to the other side. And this is like a psychological principle. Like, I'll give an example. Maybe your whole life you've just been really, really nice and you have a hard time expressing anger. And so you've gone so far on this end of the spectrum of being super nice that in order for you to find the middle point where you've got good boundaries and you can express your anger and say no, you're probably going to have to swing to the extreme and become like raging angry for a little bit, because you have to know that side in order to find the middle point. And this is why I always look at the light and shadow of everything, because we can't come into balance with it if we don't know both sides. So Pluto is the higher will and the higher power. And he is a planet of many different things. This is not an exhaustive list, but this is, I think, a good list to start from. He's a planet of transformation, evolution, detoxing, and catharsis, which is literally purging. He is a planet of renewal. So the snake shedding his skin is a symbol of that, like the dead skin sloughing off and then the new skin coming forward. He is a planet of empowerment and resurrection and shadow work and depth psychology. He is a planet of diving deep and getting to what's beneath the surface, getting to what's at the bottom, actually. He has staying power and endurance. And in his highest expression, he is connected to using magic and magical energies for higher purposes and for the good of all. Now, Pluto's shadow, he is the god of death and descent, and death by itself is not a negative thing. Death is one half of life. But in his shadowy expression, he governs destruction and devolution. So instead of evolution, evolving, we devolve. We descend deeper into our shadow and stuff and get stuck in it, and we're not evolving. He governs decay and death, power control dynamics, victim tyrant dynamics, which has everything to do with power, right? The tyrant is lording power over everyone. The victim is having their power taken away or is giving away their power. He governs obsessions and compulsions, manipulation, black magic, misuse of magical energies. I am of the belief that as long as your ego is wielding magic, it is not clear magic. And the ego is all about me. What do I want? I want that person to be in love with me, or I want that person to pay for what they did. The higher self doesn't come from that perspective. So magic that's used in that way is not high vibration magic. That's why the magic on this one is being used for higher purposes and for the good of all. Overblown ego, so narcissist, but even sociopath is definitely represented by Pluto. Nuclear power and the power to destroy the planet. Pluto was actually discovered when we split the atom and made the nuclear bomb, and he is intimately connected to that power to destroy the planet, to destroy humanity. But there's also a lot of creative power that is inherent in that as well. And there's a lot of gray area in between. And he governs shadow and darkness that is subterranean. So those who do not look, do not see. It's so deep down there underneath the surface that you don't know it's there if you're not actually looking at it and asking about it and paying attention to your instinct and your intuition. So this is the light and the shadow of Pluto. Now we'll talk about Aquarius. This is also an image made for me by Susie Farmer. You can see the Aquarius glyph on the left-hand side, the two wavy lines. Actually, it's up on the upper right-hand side too. And then this is the constellation in the middle. A lot of times when people are new to astrology, they think that Aquarius is a water sign because of the glyph. It's not a water sign, it's an air sign, but it is in the watery constellations, which we'll talk about in another slide. So we'll talk about the Aquarius light and shadow. That's me at the Temple of Isis in Philae, Egypt. And the light is there, but you can see my shadow. It's a pretty cool picture. So Aquarius, the light. Aquarius is the sign of humanity. It's one of the 3 air signs. So we've got Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and they all connect to human capacity, especially the mind, and the brain. One of the things that differentiates us from other animals and mammals, or so they say. And so in its highest expression, Aquarius is humanitarian. We are all human. We all share this planet. We are all equal in our sharing of this planet and being human. And we all should have certain equal rights. Community-centered, tuned into collective care. This sign is naturally visionary and progressive and awakening and inspiring. There's amazing capacity for genius and brilliance with this sign and with the planet that rules this sign, Uranus. Innovative and inventive, so coming up with new things and being like ahead of its time. Rebellious and revolutionary. Dane Rudyard, who's an astrologer, who's an elder, passed away. He says this is the sign of social idealism, social reform, and social transformation. There is a potential for a new social model being born in Aquarius that's not based on hierarchy. Some people at the top with all the money and everybody else at the bottom, suffering or, doing everything for everybody else, but coming into a model that is more like a circle. Everybody's at the round table contributing. And like Bernie Sanders' motto, not me, but us, I think was his motto, but I say not me, but we, because they rhyme. Same thing though, same, same meaning of the thing. Sorry, it's going to be weird for me to go back and forth here. Now into the shadow of Aquarius, the disembodied mind. So first of all, we got the shadow of artificial intelligence. I remember when I was doing my Age of Aquarius webinar, I shared this because I'd just been in the news, but there was this news article that they were doing this, test or research study, where they had an implant the size of a rice grain and they put it in people's brains, and it was a study of letting them choose their own emotion. So it was all about controlling emotion, implanting emotion, removing emotion. And emotion and feeling are connected to water, the element of water. In astrology, there's traditionally seen as the 4 elements. And water has to do with the soul and intuition, but also feeling and emotion. And to control that feeling and emotion, and of course, I'm probably going to guess that people don't want to feel grief and maybe not anger or rage, but they do want to feel lots of bliss, lots of joy. And so it's like, you can see where it would go. And to me, that was shocking. I feel like emotions are part of what make us human. Also, from a shadow work perspective, emotions are all neutral. They're information. So you feel an emotion when your soul, your spirit is needing to tell you something. Hey, there's something here that needs to be addressed or felt, or a boundary set. Anger often comes up when it comes to boundaries. So, there's a reason you don't want to just get rid of the negative emotions. You want to learn how to work with them and deal with them. So we've got, the shadow of artificial intelligence. We've particularly seen it in these last few months. We have the AI art that just kind of exploded, right? And people were uploading pictures of themselves and then they would, I didn't do it, so I only know what friends have shared, but they then generate this art of you, and the art images are pretty cool looking, very futuristic. But there's all this shadow that happened behind the scenes about that. Why do you think? Well, where did they get this art from? They actually sourced art from artists, from living human people, compiled it all, and were using people's art that was born out of their devotion for their craft, out of years of living their lives and learning their techniques. And then the computers were compiling it all and smooshing it together and making things, and then putting it out there, not paying the artists that they sourced from and took from. And there's articles on this, so you can learn more about it. But they even like had some where people's names, they would have their original art and their name would be on the bottom. Their name would still be in the image, the AI generated image. And then there's Chat GTP that's coming out. I think it's called GTP. I might have named the acronym incorrectly. I'm not sure. It's chat something. And I've been hearing all kinds of interesting experiences with that. So, people can have their dissertations written for them by this new AI software, which, colleges are and universities are going crazy about that. And it's getting into a place where there's shadow that's coming in and there's a need to be concerned. Well, leave that there for now. Group mind control, because Aquarius is the mind and is the higher mind, actually, in its highest perspective. And it's easy to be kind of brought into a group mind control place without even knowing it, particularly through social media, the news, through tech. We get fed certain stories, and people talk about this depending on where you live. Certain news articles will be showing here in the United States, but won't be showing in France or China or Russia. They'll have other things, and there's a lot of manipulation of what gets shown and seen that happens behind the scenes. This is also the shadow of Aquarius. Easily accessed information, but lack of mastery or integration. So taking and using people's original inspiration, like I can tell you about this from my own perspective. I can't tell you how many times I've had people copy my work and repurpose it and put their name on it, from my class content to blogs to it's been surprising to me because I couldn't do that personally. But it's easy right now because everything's online. You can just Google something, find somebody's original idea that was born out of their 20, 30 years of study, and then you can just take it and use it for yourself and then not reference where you found it. And that's definitely a shadow of Aquarius. And then there's other ways for that to happen. I'm just giving my own example. Information stealing, and then power over information and data, using it to manipulate, harvesting data through our smart devices. Every time you download an app, I teach my daughter about this. In the fine print, it'll say, we have access to your contacts, to your purchases, to your this, to your that. You have to read all the small print. And, there is the thought of well, whatever, I have nothing to hide. But that information is being used to, manipulate you and show you certain ads, or try and get you to buy things or see certain things that connect to what the software harvesting data computer thinks is best to kind of angle you for. So something to be aware of, all the things happening in our skies, because Aquarius, it's an air sign, so it has to do with what's in the sky and the heavens and space. And of course, we've got 5G satellites everywhere. And people think they're often UFOs when they see them streaking through the sky in a line. We've got drones, we've got, balloons that we're shooting down, and we've got aliens. And I love aliens, but we also have ways in which we're talking about aliens in a way that's causing fear or, negative. So these are all things to be aware of as Pluto moves into Aquarius. And then being emotionally cut off. That's one of the shadow signs of any of the air signs, is they just want to think about things. They don't want to feel. They especially don't want to feel grief or anger or rage or discomfort. And so Aquarius goes up in the head to understand things and can actually be disembodied, can be not in the body, not somatically present, not emotionally aware. And then living from the head up makes us easier to manipulate. When you're not fully in your body, when you're not fully connected to your intuition, it's way easier to manipulate you or us. And then, of course, Shadow Aquarius can be erratic, disruptive, chaotic, ungrounded, and can have, many other manifestations. So let's move on. So the water bearer, I know we're always told Aquarius is a he, but actually anciently she was a she. She, the water bearer, the grail bearer, the grail maiden, the grail mother. Whenever you see pots or bowls or chalices, there's some womb is like a cup or a bowl, or a pot, however you want to view it, and holds a baby and holds menstrual waters. And so Aquaria is often called the feminine version of Aquarius because it has that, last part of it that's more feminine. The star card in the tarot is the Aquarius card. And you see it's a woman, it's a naked woman, and she's pouring two water urns, one out into the water and one out into the land. This picture here to the right, I think you guys see it on the right because I think everything gets turned around in Restream. Anyhow, whatever. The other picture is a statue I got from Egypt. And it's they didn't say this. I call it Nephthys. Nephthys is the dark twin of Isis, and she has like this chalice type thing on her head. And this woman is carrying like a water bowl on her head. And energy to Aquarius that needs to be reclaimed. And I'll have more to say on that in a moment. So Pluto moves into Aquarius on March 23rd at 8:13 a.m. Eastern, 5:13 a.m. Western Pacific. Sorry, I used to live on Pacific Coast and now I'm on the East Coast. So Pluto is moving into the sign of Uranus, the higher mind, and the rebel and revolutionary, also the ancient sign of Saturn. Pluto is supposed to be moving into the sign of exaltation. He's seen as in fall in Leo, and so the opposite of fall is exaltation, or is it detriment? Sorry. My notes, I have them here somewhere. He's exalted in Aquarius. Actually, I don't even have that written there. This is an Age of Aquarius activation, like hugely so. Anytime we have a planet transiting through Aquarius, it's an Aquarius, Age of Aquarius activation. And I'll talk about that more in a moment. He will be in Aquarius for 20 years. So he moves in March 23rd. He'll move in for good end of 2024. So he goes back and forth between the two signs. November 19th, 2024, he'll be there, and he'll be in Aquarius until he leaves for good and exits into Pisces in 2044. 2043, he starts to go into Pisces, and then there's the back and forth dance. So this is a long one. Pluto was in Capricorn starting in 2008. So 2008 to 2023, that's 15 years. Pluto in Aquarius is longer. Pluto has an erratic orbit, so he does not go through all the signs equally like some of the other planets. So anchoring the Age of Aquarius, I'm not going to say too much about this, but what I do want to say is I have a whole webinar on it, and we are in the Age of Aquarius. So we began entering into it in the 1500s, and I go into the webinar as to why, because I know there's a lot of like discussions about, are we really in it? And often one of the ways people are looking at it is they're looking on spring equinox, which we're about to have, in 2 days. Go out. Okay, this is actually, you should do this if you want. Go out on spring equinox before sunrise when it's still dark, so like an hour before, and look due east, so where the sun is gonna rise, and see what constellation is rising before the sun. That's the ancient way of calculating ages. The way that people are doing it today is they're looking at a chart and they're going, oh, when the sun is rising on the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, the sun is technically in sidereal Pisces. So we're not quite in Aquarius yet. It's based on the constellations and where, the sun is. But the ancient way of doing it, we didn't have software, to calculate a chart and see when the sun is up. Guess what? You can't see the stars. So the way they calculated ages was to see what was rising before the sun, what constellation was rising. And Bernadette Brady has a very good article about this. She's an amazing elder astrologer, done excellent work on the fixed stars. And it's called Who Rides in the Fiery Boat of the Sun? If you Google that and then Google Bernadette Brady, you'll find her article. It's long and it's worth, reading. So we are in the age of Aquarius. Aquarius, the constellation, was rising before the sun. And I break it down in that 2-hour webinar. So you can check it out for more information. Anytime we have an Aquarius activation, like when Uranus and Neptune were in Aquarius, now Pluto, the recent Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius in December of 2020, anytime something happens like this, moving into Aquarius, or, a significant new moon, for example, the new moon of 1962 was a new moon in Aquarius with like 6 or 7 planets in Aquarius. It was like, whew, very big Aquarius chart. So, we have to be aware of these energies, because the age of Aquarius, it's just an age, and it has its light and it has its shadow. And if we are disembodied and disconnected from our emotions and living from our heads up, and we're not coming all the way down and in, we're not going to be able to fully embody and anchor, anchoring the age of Aquarius, the fullness of what can come in and through. I'll leave it at that, because you can watch my whole webinar for more information. So, Pluto ingress chart. I'm so sorry. I want to be able to see the chat, but every time I go over to look at it, you don't see my PowerPoint. So I definitely will, I will be checking in on it once we get to Q&A, because I want to answer questions. So if you have things that come in, maybe you can just like jot them down on a little thing on your computer and then copy and paste it later to drop it in once we get to Q&A. So here's the Pluto ingress chart for Washington, D.C. And you can see here's Pluto, 0 degrees, 0 minutes of Aquarius. It actually says 8:14 a.m. My wee moon says 8:13, whatever, a minute is fine. And so for me, the first thing I look at when I see this chart is that I see Hygeia, the goddess of healing, is leading Pluto into Aquarius. And I have more to say on that. So let's put a placeholder, because there's a whole slide just on that. I also see that there's a ton of Aries, and this is happening 3 days after the equinox, 2 days after a new moon. And we've got Sun, Mercury, Chiron, Jupiter, Vesta, Eris, Moon, all in Aries, which is fiery and dynamic. But in the Washington, D.C. chart, it's hidden in the 12th house. And then we also have a lot of Taurus. Aries is a pioneer and an activist and a warrior. Taurus is more of a peacekeeper. It's ruled by Venus. It's wanting peace and stability and grounding and connection to Earth. Pluto is approaching a square to the nodes, which I'll have a slide on that with the exact date later, but that's going to be big. It's exact August 3rd. The eclipse on April 20th triggers it. There's another slide with that, so I'll speak to that in a second. Also, the thing that jumps out at me the absolute most is Mars is at the 29th degree of Gemini, the karmic completion degree, also called the anaretic degree, the last degree of any sign, which is always 29 and something, because the moment it goes 29, 59, then it moves It doesn't go to 30, it goes to 0, 0, 0 of the next sign. So Mars is at the karmic completion degree 2 days after Pluto's ingress. He moves into Cancer and then quincunxes Pluto and makes the first major planetary trigger of Pluto moving into Aquarius. So we've also got, what's interesting to me is Pluto is square the moon and square Venus. So the feminine bodies are being activated by the planet of transformation, but also the planet of, power struggles and intensity. And there can be a lot of emotion and a lot of need to deal with emotion on a collective level. Obviously, this is a chart for the United States. That's where I cast it. But this ingress is happening for everybody. I just put it in DC because I'm actually looking at a lot of charts for America. And I'm just seeing if there's anything else I wanted to say. The equinox, which is on Monday, the 20th, I have a solar gate call up for that. And I posted it free. It's usually part of my membership content, but I give like a deep dive into this upcoming 1/8 of the year. And boy, is it like big. And then there's teachings on astrology and mythology. There's a guided meditation at the end. Because I can't just navigate to chat right now, when I'm done with the lecture, I'm going to post in the chat a bunch of links to like blogs that I reference while I'm talking here. I'll be mentioning things, and I'll post a link to that free call too. And I will also send all the links out in the follow-up email to everybody. Since you registered, you'll get it to your inbox too, so no worries. So the ingress chart, this is the living sky. So anybody who's been in my Stargate mystery school, which I think there's probably several people here from that, we've been in a journey of a year and a day through the through the year, going through all the Stargates. And we've been studying the constellations. We've been studying the stars. We've been studying the modern myth we're told about the constellations and the stars. And then we've been studying the ancient myth, and we've been studying why things changed. And we've been dreaming in a new mythology, because a lot of our myths that are projected onto the stars are myths of conquering, killing, raping, pillaging, domination. And, I don't know about you, but I think that humanity needs a new myth to live into. And some of that actually requires remembering the older myths that were there before. So this is a living sky snapshot, and this is literally, you can see down here, it's cast for, actually, I guess I cast it for a couple days ago. I meant to cast it for the moment of the equinox, but it doesn't really matter. The point is this red thing here. So you see these red crosshairs? That's Pluto. So that's where Pluto is, but you can't see him because he's small. And then, of course, this is the sun and Mercury, but that was like a couple days ago. So I forgot to update the chart to have it be the equinox chart. So from a living sky perspective, Pluto is not moving into Aquarius. Why is that? Well, in my class, we go into that, and it's a big journey of understanding it. But to sum it up very briefly, tropical astrology is based on the seasons. So it's based on the sun-earth relationship. So when spring happens, which is happening for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere on Monday at 5:24 p.m. Eastern time, when that happens, that is 0 degrees of Aries. And that got fixed around 500 BC, if I'm remembering my year right, and somewhere around there. And so that is tropical astrology. Tropical astrology says 0 Aries is spring. 0 Cancer is summer, solstice. 0 Libra is fall. And 0 Capricorn is winter solstice. But living sky astrology is actually about the constellations and where they actually are. It's more aligned with sidereal, but it's not exact, because both sidereal and tropical divide the zodiac into 12 equal pie slices of 30 degrees, and none of the constellations are precisely 30 days for the sun to move through, For example, Virgo takes like 45, 46 days or so to move, for the sun to move through it, because it's huge. Scorpio is much smaller, 8 or 9 days, 7 or 8, 9 days. And so you can even see here how large Pisces is compared to like Capricorn, for example. So Pluto, although on March 23rd is going to be moving into tropical Aquarius, he's actually just starting to head into Capricornus. And this is important. I'm hearing a little like dingy thing, and I don't know if it's because, okay, everybody, you guys are all good, right? Everybody can hear me fine and there's no problems. Maybe I'm just hearing like the chat thing. All right. You guys can hear me? Can somebody say yes? Yes, I think we're good. 4:39. Yeah, should be. Can you hear me? I think we should be good. Yes, okay, good. Sorry. Once when I was teaching a long time ago, and it's only happened once, knock on wood, but the power went out or the Wi-Fi went out. I was talking for like 20 minutes before I realized that no one was there. I had to like redial in or whatever. Anyhow, I just had a moment of like, ooh, I hope it's working. So we have Pluto moving into actual Capricornus. And this is the beginning of Pluto moving into the watery constellations, also called the celestial sea. It's the area of the sky where we've got Capricorn or Capricornus, who's today just called a goat, a mountain goat, but he's actually a sea goat, and he has a tail because he just came out of the water, the primordial sea. We've got Aquarius, who's pouring the water with the great fish beneath him, southern fish that Fomalhaut is a part of. We've, of course, got the Pisces fish. We've got Cetus the whale. We've got Eridanus the river. Like, this is all the watery celestial sea part of the living sky. And many traditions have stories about this being like the primordial abyss, the place of birth and rebirth, the place where everything came from and was born and everything returns. And so we essentially have Pluto returning to this area of the sky. There's this quote from the Emerald Tablet, and it states, "God created everything from an infinite darkness, a bottomless depth and water." So these are the black waters of creation, the Egyptian waters of Nun, the Hawaiian Po. There's many other traditions that speak to it. So we've got this really rich area of the sky that Pluto is heading into. And this is an overlay, or maybe I should say underlay, undertone that is coming in with Pluto. It's not just Pluto moving into tropical Aquarius, it's also Pluto moving into the part of the celestial sea that he'll be in for like, I think 50 years or maybe 40 to 50 years. So here's a beautiful image by Julia Y. She's an amazing artist and she has gorgeous imagery. And her sea goat is my favorite of all the ones I've ever seen. I feel like she really evokes the beautiful energy of the goat, but then you see the mermaid tail and you see these beautiful colors that evoke the sea, you know, these blue and green colors that are very like, you know, Caribbean type, but also the black waters that are the primordial waters of the Nun. So this is a quote from Dane Rudyard from his Zodiac as the Universal Matrix. So he says, "Our modern Capricorn type shows the characteristic features of the sign mostly in their negative aspect. This is because humankind has not yet evolved to the point where a soundly organized society of free and creative individuals has become entirely feasible. To date, we only know the shadowy and most dark aspect of the Capricorn realm. Therefore, we speak of the state as a coercive and inherently oppressive entity. For me, we need to reclaim the tail of the goat." You know, very often Capricorn is just focused on CEO, boss, working hard, getting to the top, and we forgot the primordial waters he sources from, that he came from, that he'll return to. His fishtail is a nod to that. We also often forget that Capricorn is the sign of the initiate. There's all these sons of God, Jesus included, but many others, that were born at the time of the winter solstice with the sun in Capricorn. And so there's a deeply mystical spiritual energy to Capricornus. And I think we need to reclaim that. And that can maybe be part of Pluto's ingress into Capricorn. So Capricorn was anciently connected to Enki and Ea. So the ancient myth of Capricornus is connected to the Babylonian god Enki, or Ea, one of the Anunnaki. He was a Sumerian god of water, wisdom, knowledge, creation, and magic. Enki means Lord of the Earth, or Earth's master. Ki means earth, En means Lord. Ea is Akkadian for he whose home is water, and that's a nod to coming out of the waters, or the living one. Some of the more modern but old visuals we have of Enki is you'll see a man carrying 2 urns of water and pouring them out, and they say it's connected to Aquarius, but this is actually a later association. Before Enki was associated with Aquarius, Gula, the Great One, who was a goddess, was associated with Aquarius. She was called the Great Irrigator. Those associations got passed on to Enki later, or more, modern, but not that modern. We're talking like, back 4,000 years ago. So, reclaiming some of the original energy of who Enki was and reclaiming the goat with his tail can be part of the journey of reclaiming the full power and, moving beyond essentially what Dane Rudyard says here about we largely just see the shadow of the Capricorn archetype. Anybody out there that has strong Capricorn, please don't take this as a negative thing. There's so many beautiful qualities to Capricorn. I'm talking about more in like a collective way, how we see it projected into governments and big business and corporations and what they're doing, to the environment and to the world. This is the shadowy part of Capricorn that I believe he is speaking to. So another thing to be aware of from a living sky perspective, this image is from Danielle. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say Daniela. It's Danielle Adams of Arizona University. She has she's a doctorate of astronomy, or I forget what her exact degree is, but something in that area. And her work is something that I'm like, wow, I totally could have gone in that direction and done that. So what she does is she studies the ancient Arabic constellations, which a lot of them are quite different than what we're told today. And she tells the older myths, and she talks about, what was there before. And I found her in my deep dive of wanting to know about ancient myths. Often it's the Arabic ones that are the oldest that we can find. So we can see, maybe you've heard that like in Aquarius, there's all these lucky stars, Sadal Sud, Sadal Malek, Sada, whatever. There's a bunch of them. And it all means lucky or auspicious, star of something. Well, and then people will say Aquarius is the lucky sign. And people will say when the new moon's in Aquarius, it's the lucky moon. And when the new moon's in your 11th house, the Aquarius house, it's your lucky lunation. Well, the lucky stars are not just in Aquarius. The lucky stars are in Capricorn. You can see here, CAP means Capricorn. They're in Capricorn, they're in Aquarius. They're also in Pegasus. So there's this whole area of the sky that the lucky stars are in, and they're a nod to an ancient constellation from Arabic lore that was called the well bucket. The well bucket is this square up here that is formed by the Great Pegasus square stars that I can show maybe back here so you can just see it visually. Here, the Great Square of Pegasus, there all these lucky stars will come out to Capricorn, to Aquarius, and into Pegasus. And Pluto is just starting to move in. to the lucky star part of the sky. The well bucket was seen as pouring water onto the land and the earth, and these lucky stars would all rise around the rainy season. So that's part of why they're lucky, is they brought fertility to the land and they blessed the crops. And it was like, you needed rain to make your food to survive. And as you can see, there's all kinds of lucky stars. Auspice means lucky, the auspicious asterism. So there's the lucky star of rain, the lucky star of the exalted one, the aspiring one, the lucky one of the woolen tents, the lucky one of the lambs of the king, the luckiest of the lucky stars, that's Sad al-Sud in Aquarius, the voracious lucky one, the lucky one of the slaughterer, and that's because it was connected to the slaughter of the goat. Anyhow, and then the scattering lucky star. So there's all these lucky stars, and we got Pluto heading into them. So let's thank our lucky stars. So in the elemental, in astrology, the main elements are earth, air, water, earth, air. Wait, sorry, I'm trying to do it in order of the signs. So fire, earth, air, and water. But there is a fifth element. It's the element of ether, also called spirit. And so in traditional astrology, we just see the four elements. But ether is up there in the spirit world, and water is actually seen in many different kind of occult traditions as the primordial elements. Like even in the Bible, you read that at first all there was water, and then God said, let there be light. And then there was light. And so it was like water was there, and then spirit was there, because spirit was able to say, let there be light. And in the story of the Nun, same thing. The Nun, it was like these chaotic, dark waters, and there was nothing there. And then light came. And then, the sun rose and was born often out of an egg, or, a primordial mound came and an egg cracked open. There's many different ways of describing this, but water is a primordial element. Water can be liquid, it can be ice, it can be boiling hot, it can be hard or formless, it can be hot or cold. It's essentially an element of undifferentiated potential, and it's the primary principle of the universe, according to Thales of Miletus. So it was seen as the source of life, and it's the first earth element. Spirit was always there. Spirit's ether. It was always there, but then the water was there, and then out of the water everything else came. Here's actually a quote from the Bible. Genesis 1, verse 1 through 2. I think I said that right. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. These verses say that at the beginning of day one, the whole world was a watery, formless, dark void. The waters, the primordial ones, are always seen as black. They're black waters. So when Pluto moves into tropical Aquarius, he's actually heading to align with two Stargates. And anybody that's in Stargate Mystery School is going to recognize this. So he'll first align, and he's not going to align with either of them this year, because he actually just goes in for a little bit and then he goes back out. So this will be like 2025. First, he aligns with Albireo, which is a star in the Cygnus constellation. It's often seen as the swan today, but anciently it was a vulture. And it currently is at 1 degree 33 minutes of Aquarius and tropical. It's actually twin stars, one gold and one blue, sometimes called the soulmate stars. And this constellation has great mother energy. It's seen as a swan today, but the ancient Arabic people saw it as a mother hen with her chicks. And then even at Göbekli Tepe, you can see the vulture stone, and it's showing a vulture with the star formation of Cygnus. And anciently, it was a vulture. And vulture in Egypt is a symbol of the primordial mother, Mother Mut or Nekbet. They're vultures, and it's this just ancient symbol for mother energy in Egypt, but also in other places. Albireo today is seen as the head of the swan, but actually this is the tail of the ancient vulture. So they didn't just change it into a new animal, but they turned it around. So we have this Stargate being activated, and then the next one is the Altair Stargate of Aquila. So Aquila is often called the eagle, but if it's an eagle, it's a golden eagle, because there's stars in this constellation that literally have etymology that mean dark bird. And the bald eagle, although it does have dark wings down here, you wouldn't call it a dark bird, because the striking part of it is it has a white head. I actually just saw one last week. It was pretty amazing, actually. So it's either a golden eagle, but also anciently it was a vulture. So both Lyra and Aquila were seen as vultures: vulture cadens, vulture volans, the flying or rising vulture, and the descending or falling vulture. And so we've got 3 vultures up here in the sky over the primordial waters and celestial sea. We've got the symbol of the waters of the womb, and then we've got the bird energy of spirit above in this part of the sky, in this part of the living sky. Altair is at 2 degrees and 5 minutes, so Pluto doesn't get to Altair until 2025. And same with Albireo. I actually got the dates for the Altair one. I forgot to get it for Albireo, so I apologize. But Pluto conjunct Altair the first time will be February 3rd, 2025, just a little bit after the the inauguration of the President of the United States in 2025, and then August 13th, and then December 10th. Altair is a deeply mystical and occult star connected to liberty and justice. So we've got some really fascinating stargates coming in. I'm just wanting to share with you guys that my Stargate Mystery School is going to be made available on demand once it's over. So we're almost done with it. We have one more class on Monday. We have the Aries class. We started it in Taurus, and I have to tell you, that was totally not on purpose. It was just life had a lot going on. I had to push it back by a month, but it's actually become like perfectly clear why it had to start in Taurus and in Aries. And then we have a last 13th circle class together, and I'm going to make it available on demand. I don't think I can teach it again live, but there's a lot of content. And if stuff like this is of interest to you, learning about the Stargates, the ancient myths, the etymology of names, that kind of stuff, this might be up your alley. And I'm going to send out, I'll probably post it in the chat when I can get to it, but I have a special offer for anybody who wants to buy it on demand this week. So from now until March 25th, I think it'll end March 25th. The full 12 months of the year class will be 444. It was 700 live, but we also had a lot of interaction with each other in the community page. And it includes the 12 monthly classes, also the 13th class, and it will only be accessible starting April 19th. So just that's a caveat too. You'll purchase it this week, and then you get access once I'm done teaching the class, because I have to complete with the people that are in the space with me. And these are just a few quotes or testimonials from people who've been in the class. I'm sure there's people in chat right now saying something, but I can't see it. Stargate Mystery School with you has been very enlightening with many layers. I'm glad I decided to dive in. The synchronicities come at me wave after wave. This is because we're working with myth, and myth is a living thing, and so is archetype. And I believe with every fiber of my being that we need a new myth for humanity, because the myth we're living sucks. Look what it's done to our planet, to the water, to the air, to the children, to the indigenous cultures, to the land itself. We need a new myth. And so this whole course was exploring modern myth, ancient myth, and what do we want to dream into being. So it's kind of comes from that place. I feel the magnitude of what we're doing more and more. This is no small thing. Grateful you're willing to be the hollow bone, which just means the inspiration for the class came through. Between the Stargate class and the Shadow class last year, I'm doing such deep work that will have ripple effects beyond the personal, I'm sure. Thank you. And then the insights I've received in the first days of Stargate Mystery School were equal to 10 years of therapy, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. So I will put a link in the chat later on this, and it'll go out in the email too. But it's only available for the discounted price till March 25th, and then it's going to go up to its regular price. Now, I do want to briefly mention Pluto moving through the gene key of number 41 gene key. I study the gene keys, so I am not a master of the gene keys, but I've been studying them quite a bit, and I've been making a lot of connections between them and the Stargates, and it's been kind of blowing my mind. And Pluto is currently actually in, I think it's gene key 60, but he moves into gene key 41, which is called the prime emanation. It's the start codon in human DNA. It's called the gene key of origin. And it goes from 2 degrees to 737 Aquarius. Pluto will start to move here in 2024 and will be there until 2029. The fixed star Altair from Aquila just moved into this gene key by procession in 2016. And he'll be there, because that's like 5.5 degrees. He takes 72 years to move through 1 degree. So 72 times 5.5. What is that? 350, 380, somewhere. A lot of years. So we have a big activation of this gene key. And if you don't have his book, I don't have it in front of me, but it's really good. It's an amazing book. It's like an esoteric text. Like, I love this book. You can read the gene key 41. Actually, I think he even has this one posted on his website for free, so you can read it because it's the start codon. His website is genekeys.com. So I'll just leave it at that. It felt important to just have a placeholder for understanding that Pluto is about to move there as well. So moving on, I want to talk about the tarot. So Judgment card is the Pluto card. Aquarius card is the Star card. The Fool is the Uranus card that is the contemporary ruler of Aquarius. The World is the Saturn card that is the ruler of, or the ancient ruler of Aquarius. Now, for me, one of the most important things to notice is the feminine presence in these cards, right? So we've got on the left-hand side, Judgment. It's supposed to be resurrection, right? They're all coming out of coffins. The angel is turning towards the woman and the feminine. All the rays of music are on her outstretched arms. She is receiving the inspiration. She is taller and she's receiving it so that she can share it with her divine partner and her divine child. For me, this is a card that is reminding us that it's the feminine that is receptive and can receive straight from the divine, and as such needs to lead. She has the capacity to receive in a way that the masculine doesn't. And I'm talking about our inner feminine and our inner masculine. This is an inner process. It's my feminine that is open to receive the inspiration from the universe. It's my masculine that acts on it, that makes it a class, turns it into something. But it's my feminine that receives it. And my masculine is what also helps me have boundaries so that I'm not just over empathing and taking everything on, so they work together. And then, of course, there's the divine child that is born out of their union. It's the feminine, though, that needs to lead. The Aquarius card is a reminder of this. It's a woman, right? So it's showing the feminine Aquarius water bearer. She's got stars behind her. The big yellow star is Sirius. The 7 white stars are the Pleiades. She's pouring water into the water, the primordial waters, out of which one of her feet is resting on. And then she's also pouring water on the land. And then you can see an ibis, which is a bird of Thoth or Tehuti in Egyptian lore. You just see this image of fertility, but also inspiration. The stars are up there beaming their starlight. And she's deeply connected to water and earth, the 2 feminine elements. Water is our emotions, earth is our body. If you want to honor the feminine, start honoring your emotions and start honoring your body. Somatic based body work and emotional work, shadow work, are like two ways to honor the feminine. The Fool, of course, is the man, the one that's the main kind of boy energy, I guess. He's a youth. He's not, it doesn't look like a full grown adult, but he's also not like a baby. Interestingly, this white sun is Sirius, the spiritual son of our sun, and this white dog down here is also Sirius, the dog star, and this man is in the shape of Orion. So if you ever see Orion, and then there's Sirius the dog behind him and the dog star, this is literally a reflection of that. And this is a card of like something brand new coming in. So Pluto is bringing us the capacity to resurrect. But what do we need to resurrect? The feminine within all of us, in the world around us, because the feminine needs to lead. We cannot be leading from the masculine, from, positively, it's great for taking action and making things happen, but shadow masculine energy can be, conquer, be intense, is more external. I mean, even if you just look at the sexual genitalia, like a phallus is external, a womb is internal. And so we want our feminine to receive, and then we want our masculine to protect our feminine so that she can stay open-hearted and receive. And then we want our masculine to act on what comes in as inspiration from the feminine. And then the last card is the World card. What's interesting is Aquarius is ruled by the first and the last majors. And of course, the Fool, they say, can actually go anywhere in the deck because he's 0. But he's often seen as coming, right before the Magician, number 1. And then the World is the last card. And we see a woman. And she's got 2 magic wands, one in her left feminine hand and one in her right masculine hand, balanced energy. She has a sash that covers her private parts, and they say it's because she probably has a phallus. So she is a she who is both, and she has integrated the masculine and feminine within herself. But it is the feminine that's leading, and that's why you look and you think, oh, she's just a woman. So these are the cards that are governing the shift of Pluto moving into Aquarius. So here's this amazing image. I found this years ago. I actually found this in like 2000 and I think it was like 2 or 1 or something. And at the time, I never found the artist's name. And I've tried to look this up on TinEye and Google Image, and all I just see are people's reposting of it. I have yet to find the artist. If anybody knows, please email me because I spent quite a bit of time looking. So this to me is this evocative image of the shadow of Aquarius. We've got a robot. It's all wired. It's all tech. It's, disconnected from being human. And then we've got this angel who's very human. And we've got this capacity for integration. The shadow of Aquarius is repressing emotions, wanting to go up into our head, wanting to be disembodied, wanting to, AI wants us to live forever and wants us to put consciousness in a microchip. If you haven't seen the show on Amazon, you can get it on Amazon Prime. It's called Upload. Very interesting. The take on what's coming in down the line. So, in this image, he's cut himself off from the feminine, and yet there she is holding him in an emotion of love. She's human and, looking natural in her humanness. And on offer is the healing around this. The shadow of Pluto and Aquarius can truly be more disconnect, more disembodiment, more moving into tech that disconnects us from nature. That is possible. But the highest aspect of Pluto and Aquarius that can come in is empowering group consciousness and humanity to make the changes we need to make now. So, the transformation of humanity, which is why I titled my talk that. It's also going to be a time of the cathartic release. Remember, Pluto is the roto-rooter, comes in to clear out the stuck, stagnant crap. and he governs catharsis. He can help us release the waters of emotion that have been repressed by our minds. There's many things on offer here. So here are the major Pluto and Aquarius transits this year, 2023. There's another slide for big ones incoming. So we've got Pluto moving to Aquarius on the 23rd of March. 2 days later, Mars triggers. Mars quincunxes Pluto at 0 degrees, 2 minutes of Aquarius, the first major trigger. Often when a planet moves into a new sign, it's not until we see a faster moving planet trigger it that we'll actually see what's that transit's about. Well, we get it like boom, coming in right away. So, Mars in Cancer can be emotional and over emotional, and going head to head with Pluto and Aquarius, who's, by nature not interested in emotions, just wants to think. This can be a power struggle between thinking and feeling, heart and mind. It can also play out in the world stage, so we will see what happens. April 20th, there's a total solar eclipse. It's the second new moon in Aries. We have a new moon in Aries, March 21st. I have a lunar insight that's up all about its free content. You can read it on my website, divineharmony.com. And the second new moon in Aries, happens April 20th. And so when you have a second new moon in a sign, it's called a black moon. So when you see black moon there, I'm not talking about Lilith. I'm talking about the second new moon in Aries. But it's also a total solar eclipse. It's at the karmic completion degree, 29 degrees, 50 minutes. I mean, it's literally almost at the very last minute of Aries. And it's square Pluto, and it's kicking off the Pluto nodal T-square that happens August 3rd. Pluto, any planet square the nodes, like evolutionary astrology will say, when a planet square the nodes, you have a missed step. There's something you didn't do in a previous life, and it has to do with the nature of the planet that's squaring, the nodes. Pluto square the nodes, something about transformation and evolution, but also something about shadow and power and control and, darkness. And I don't mean dark in the positive dark. There's positive dark, and then there's shadow dark. There's dark primordial womb of the great mother, and then there's like evil black magic, that type. So just so you know, I can use that word interchangeably. So Pluto square the nodes, it can be like this crossroads, where we have a choice. Are we going to keep staying stuck in the karmic south node, or are we going to move into new directions and evolve? Right now, as I'm teaching this class, north node's in Taurus, south node's in Scorpio. And so Pluto's energizing that, but the exact square happens when the north node moves into Aries and the south node moves into Libra. And so Pluto will be squaring from early Aquarius. Pluto will be squaring from Capricorn when he retrogrades back into Capricorn. And so the shadow of a south node in Libra is keep the peace at any cost, sweep it under the carpet. I don't want to take a stand for truth. I just want everything to be harmonious. And I'm not going to speak up, and I'm not going to, call out anything. And I'm just going to stay on the surface. That's shadow Libra. There's so many beautiful positive qualities to Libra, but that's the shadow. And the north node in Aries is take a stand, warrior up, call out the shadow, call out the stuff that's not only is it not okay, but it's taking us on a train ride that's going to be a certain point we can't reroute and we can't put the brakes on. And so Pluto square the nodes is building all year up until August 3rd when it's exact. That's to the mean nodes of the moon. Jupiter will trigger it. Jupiter will square Pluto and then co-join the north node when it's in Taurus in May 17th through the 27th. So that's a Jupiter trigger of the Pluto nodal T-square, but the actual Pluto nodal T-square is August 3rd. And then we've got Pluto stationing retrograde May 1st. So he only goes into the first 22 minutes of Aquarius. It's not like a big visit. Then he'll go back into Capricorn on June 11th. And then he'll station direct again this year, October 10th, be in Capricorn through the rest of the year until 2024. He'll go into Aquarius again, then he'll retrograde, he'll go back, and then he'll be officially in Aquarius November of 2024. So Pluto at the karmic completion degree is huge. So, as I said, there's a karmic completion degree for every sign, right? 29 degrees of everything: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, so on and so forth. Pluto moves so slowly, though, that he's going to be at this degree for a good period of time, starting with February 11th of this year until he moves into Aquarius March 23rd. Then he'll retrograde May 1st, as I said on the previous slide, and he'll backtrack into the 29th degree of Capricorn from June 11th to July 27th. He'll still stay in Capricorn, but then he goes back into 28. On December 20th of this year, he moves back into the 29th degree of Capricorn, and he's there until Pluto moves into Aquarius again, January 21st. Interestingly, that day, the sun will be conjunct Pluto, because we'll have the sun in the first degree of Aquarius conjunct Pluto, who moves into Aquarius. And then he goes back into the 29th degree September 1st next year. And then final ingress into Aquarius for good is November 19th of 2024. And he will be in Aquarius until he starts to dip into Pisces in 2043. And then he's for good into Pisces in 2044. So it's a 20-year transit in Aquarius. But this year, next year, it's all about the karmic completion degree. So I was looking at the news to see from February 11th to March 23rd, when we've had Pluto at 29 Capricorn for the first time, what's been happening. So we have the Chinese balloon and unidentified objects in the sky. We had the bank meltdown. We had the Turkey-Syria earthquake. We had the invasion and the war 1-year anniversary. Obviously, that started last year. We had the escalation with China and Taiwan. We had the Ohio train derail and release highly toxic chemicals into the air and water. And there's other things. This is not an exhaustive list. This is Pluto at the karmic completion degree of tropical Capricorn. Capricorn has to do with big business and corporations like train companies, and has to do with government and banks, and has to do, it's an earth sign, so it has to do with earth, in earthquakes, Pluto, coming in and shaking up the foundation. It's exposing what is toxic, stagnant, stuck in the shadow, and all of these types of things. It's like a big reveal. Just give like the Ohio train derailment as an example. When I read that article and then I saw the toxins that got, put up in a mushroom cloud and then went into the air and then went into the water, there's animals dead for miles, and there's people getting sick hundreds of miles away because the air drifts. The first thing I thought of, why are we even allowing these chemicals to be used? Why do we have a chemical that's needed for a process in some company that is something that if it ever has an accident, it harms and can kill life? Why are we doing that? Who's running things here? Because that to me is like pretty stupid. And so this is the kind of stuff that's getting revealed. It's like what was going on backdoor. And Pluto's doing that this year and next year. The Sabian symbol for 29 Capricorn, if you weren't aware, you should be. A secret meeting of men responsible for executive decisions in world affairs. The power to assume responsibility for crucial choices arrived at after mature discussions with those who share this power. This is by Dane Rudyard from his Sabian symbol book. So he definitely has the more positive take of a secret meeting of men responsible for world affairs. I would like to speak to the shadow in a moment, but let's keep reading. We're all aware now of the work of secret committees in the White House and at levels of the government. The student of esoteric philosophy believes in the existence of what has been called an inner government, which has the power to direct or guide the evolution of our planet and of mankind. Some people speak of a cult hierarchy or of the White Lodge. Here again, what is at stake is a seeing through the facts of telluric processes in human history, assuming that these facts are at least in part the outcome of the decisions of a supreme council of quasi-divine beings. Obviously, the symbol can also refer to what occurs at the more ordinary level of business and politics. At any level, it refers to the highest form of social interaction. It's the last symbol belonging to scene 20. You have to read all of them to understand that, but we see it in the culmination of social responsibility and a reference to executive power. So he references this from a higher perspective. He speaks of a spiritual hierarchy, but this can also be seen in its lower perspective in the form of people manipulating world affairs from behind the scenes for their own benefit, wealth, and power. So Pluto goes over this. I also, note that it says men that are responsible for world affairs. And of course, we've seen the tarot cards and the energy. The feminine needs to be there. Women as well as men who lead from the feminine, and non-binary beings who lead from the feminine, because it's an essence. We all have it. We all have it to access. Let's put it that way. So now, as Pluto moves from tropical Capricorn to Aquarius, I have the Star Sparks degree for 0 Aquarius. So Star Sparks is by Elias Lonsdale. And I mostly reference his Star Sparks in my lunar insights when I write about the new or full moon. I sometimes will look at the Sabian symbols as well. I pretty much read, and then if I feel it in a deep way, I use it. And it's usually Star Sparks that I go with. But the Sabian symbol was pretty powerful for the last degree of Capricorn. So that one I used for that one. For 0 Aquarius, I really love the Star Sparks. So I'll read it to you. You can take a screenshot too if you want. Aquarius 1, a 2-headed calf. Opposite points of view held in tension with each other for the sake of a new synthesis. Very intensive identification within both ends. Often one voice is conscious, the other subconscious. When this is true, the polarity is fiercely contented underneath and hardly understood on the outside. Being convinced that life, reality, existence is one way, and then being convinced on a whole other level of an entirely divergent perspective. The overt identification may be with the point of view which is potentially correct or acceptable in one's immediate circle of allegiance. The hidden absorption may be with the perspective which would be judged to be too traditional or old-fashioned or out of touch, far too naive, unworldly. Strife and conflict, internal and external, playing out the opposites pervasively, pulled hard into extreme positions, wanting to be right, facing what it is also to be wrong, to be off, to harbor that which makes the soul feel guilty or strange. Beyond all this confusion lies a synthesis, which is being sought at every turn and eludes grasp until the different sides are exhausted. The third point of view is not just the reconciliation of opposing sides or coming to a reasonable point of resolution. It's far more compelling than that. A vision is held here of a world in the near future where all sides are included, where the myriad aspects of existence are simultaneously upheld, honored, seen, appreciated, given their voice, their power, their spark of contribution and inclusion, only when there is no further need to deny or negate, to judge or get rid of the shadow, the other side. The nagging question, will the multi-dimensional vision be unveiled as simply commonsensical truth? So to me, that whole last paragraph in particular, I just had full body chills as I was reading it. Like, that is the highest manifestation of Pluto moving into Aquarius and of the Age of Aquarius, where all can be honored and brought back in to wholeness. Integrity is a word that has to do with integration, and it's bringing all parts back into wholeness. As long as we split off from something, whether it's within or without, that's bad, that's evil, that's wrong, whether it's something in me or something external, then it keeps it in war consciousness. It keeps it in good and evil, right and wrong. And this is a vision of moving beyond that and moving into cohesion, moving into being a humanity that understands that we all have something to contribute. So to me, this is the highest, of what we can call in, and that's what I'm calling in. So the USA Pluto return is huge. I have a blog on it. I'll put it in the chat, or you can find it on my website. and I'll send it in the email. So the Pluto return to natal Pluto is 2022. To progress Pluto, it's 23 to 24. And in America's chart, our progressed Pluto is at 29 Capricorn. Our progressed Pluto is at the karmic completion degree of 29 Capricorn, which is that Sabian symbol of people, controlling world affairs from behind the scenes. And it's not until 2050, I believe it's July 1st, 2050, so like 3 days before our birthday, that our progressed Pluto moves into Aquarius. So from now until then, in the progress chart, we have progressed Pluto at the karmic completion degree. And we have Pluto triggering it, essentially. Here's a chart. And I have all my chart notes down here, so I'm going to have to keep referencing so I can make sure I don't miss anything. So first of all, this is the United States chart of the 5:13 p.m. chart. It's a Sagittarius rising chart. There's many different chart thoughts. Like there's a Gemini chart, and then there's a Scorpio chart. I actually really love the Scorpio chart, but I haven't had time to study the Scorpio chart as deeply as I have the Sagittarius one, because I started with that one. And there's all these ideas about, which one's right and which one's wrong. So I'm going with the most commonly used chart because there's big things happening to it, and I think it's important. So notice here we got Pluto at 27 degrees, 33 minutes of Capricorn, and that's why Pluto return for United States was all last year. Progressed Pluto, I'll show you in the next chart. Pluto is widely conjunct the karmic south node, and it's in the house of money and resource. And Pluto rules the 12th house as well as the 11th house in the Placidus chart. If you do an equal chart, it's just the 12th house of the unconscious, of shadow and projection. Pluto is opposite Mercury, which makes for very intense communication and even like power struggles in communication, and widely quincunx Mars and Venus. So Mars and Venus are widely conjunct, and Pluto quincunxes them. We have some big things happening in the United States chart. Pluto return obviously is one of them. We've got Chiron return coming up in 2023 to 2024 for progressed Chiron, all the way to 2025 for natal. We're in the middle of huge Neptune. We just had our Neptune opposition. Chiron return is returning us to the original source of the wound and needing to do deep work around healing. Not everybody chooses that, though, when they have their Chiron return. Some people just get more entrenched in their wounding. They don't want to do the work. That's obviously from a personal perspective. This is, talking about a country. Our Neptune opposition was 2021 to 22, but with progressed Neptune, it actually just starts this year and goes until 2024. And it's been triggering our Mars-Neptune square. So Mars square Neptune is kind of an intense aspect to have in your chart. We actually just went through a triple Mars-Neptune square with Mars retrograde, which, by the way, Mars retrograde was our Mars return 3 times for the United States. So we had Mars retrograde for everybody, squaring Neptune 3 times, triggering the United States Mars-Neptune square. Mars is how we go after things, our will, our drive, also our anger and our ego. And when there's a square to Neptune, we might not be so clear about our ego, about our own aggression, or about other people and what they're doing. It's easy to be deluded or deceived. It's easy to do the deluding and the deceiving. Mars is in Gemini, so this can be deceptive or delusional communication, information, media sharing, and Neptune is right smack in the middle of it all. We are actually heading to our Uranus return. That won't be till 2027 to 2028. I have something more to say on that in a different slide. And we're also in the middle of a ton of Aries aspects. So transiting Aries, she's the slowest moving body. I have a whole 2-hour masterclass on her. She's amazing. She's the archetype of the 21st century. She was just discovered in 2005. She's called the goddess of discord and chaos. That's her shadow side. She's also an activist and a warrior. And Aries has been squaring our Mercury since 2019 all the way to 2024. And we'll head to square our Pluto, both natal and progressed, from 2033 to 2048, just before Pluto pops out and goes into progressed Pluto, moves into Aquarius. So Eris is stirring the pot. And she is, you know, again, the goddess of discord and chaos. So she can bring chaos and discord, but she does it to reveal the shadow that's not being looked at. And you know, she's kind of like a fiery, spicy medicine. You know, it's not the medicine you want to take, but it's the medicine that you need to purge something. Like she has that kind of energy in her higher essence. Here is the progress chart for the United States. If you notice here, Pluto, where are you, Pluto, is at 29 degrees, 31 minutes. So he still has 29 minutes to move through Capricorn by progression, and that will be until 2050 when he moves into Aquarius. He's more closely conjunct the South Node. I actually, just a few days ago, I was like, when was Pluto, progressed Pluto conjunct the South Node? And it was 1962 to 1966. In the progress chart, Pluto is exactly conjunct the karmic South Node. I use the mean nodes, by the way. And I also calculate for NIBOD, the NIBOD method of progress charts for people who know about the different types of calculations, just so you can be clear. So what happened back then? I mean, 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. End of 1963, 1962, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know, there were some big Plutonian things that happened back then. As you can see in this chart, we're actually in our progressed dark moon as a country. We are going to have our progressed new moon March 24th, 2024, next year. But until then, we're in a dark moon, and the dark moon is about endings and completion and closure and needing to deal with everything from the previous lunar cycle of 27, 28 years. And then you can see the Eris transits more clearly here. Eris, the node, North Node, is going to align with the Mercury that's getting triggered by Eris from 2019 to 2024. Eris is triggering our nodes also from 2019 to 2024. So there's like something new coming in, some new vision, some new awareness, but it's coming through discord and chaos and upheaval, you know, in Eris fashion. You can also see why Neptune opposition is still happening, because progressed Neptune's at almost 26 degrees now. The other thing that's super important is Uranus is about to align with the progressed midheaven. And this is with the NIBOD progress chart. I learned about NIBOD from my teacher, Dawn Bedrogi. I found her honestly only like 3-4 years before she passed away. She passed away unexpectedly a few years ago. But she was like a deeply devoted to her craft elder teacher of astrology. I was so blessed to have found her. I had one-on-one lessons with her and sessions. She was really wonderful. Her website is still up, and you can read all her blogs. She wrote a lot of stuff. I found her searching Chiron because I was going through all this Chiron, and it was just like, it was so intense and painful and, you know, very Chiron. And she was like a master of Chiron. So her website, I think it's theinnerwheel.com. And there's nothing new being posted, you know, it's just you can see her old content, but it's worth a look. She was an amazing teacher. Anyhow, she taught me about the NIBOD method, and ever since then, I use it for my progress charts. The solar arcs I also look at, and this is more technical, so obviously only people who know progress charts and the variations are even going to get this, so I'll keep it short. But the solar arc charts, the angles, the midheaven, the IC, and ascendant descendant angles are the same angles as the other type of normal progress chart that gets used. So I don't miss the aspects to that. I look at NIBOD progress chart and solar arc progress chart. So we are about to have our progress new moon. The United States new moon will be March 24th, 2024. It's in Pisces, conjunct Pallas Athena, the wisdom warrior goddess, opposite our Neptune, opposite also our natal Neptune, and triggering our Mars-Neptune square. So on offer for me, when I look at this, when I see this new moon, I see like the potential for my country to take the veil off our eyes and see through illusion and see what's going on, not be just the Neptunian, oh, everything, whatever, is all love and light. And to really see where we have escaped seeing the truth about ourselves as individuals, about our country, personally, our own inner work and shadow work. We've got this new moon happening. We also about to have Jupiter, who's been retrograde since 1904 in our progress chart. He is about to station direct in 2025 on July 22nd, 2025, Mary Magdalene Feast Day. And he will be stationing at 15 degrees, 10 minutes of Cancer. You can see he's already slowing down, getting ready to do that because he's at 1511. And that's very close to where Sirius, current position of Sirius is. Right now, Sirius is at 1424 Cancer. And Sirius is huge for the United States. It's in our chart. It's, the spiritual son of our sun, many different occult traditions, mystical traditions paid attention to Sirius for good reason. And I have a whole 2+ hour masterclass on it that's available on my website. But we're about to have Jupiter station direct. We've had 120 years of Jupiter retrograde. So I was looking at like what happened back in 1904 when Jupiter stationed. I saw that Teddy Roosevelt had been elected, and he believed the public interest was of greater importance than the wealthiest businesses. He was worried about the growth of big business and Wall Street's influential hand and financial takeovers by large companies that threaten the existence of their smaller counterparts. He wanted to reshape business through government regulation, and his first target was one of America's great entrepreneurs, J.P. Morgan. He felt that America's greatest evil was too much power in corporate America. And so he sued the tycoon's Northern Securities Corporation to halt the monopolization of Western railways. The case went to the Supreme Court. His monopoly was crushed, and he gained a reputation. Teddy Roosevelt gained a reputation as a trust buster and a trust regulator. So he felt he should act on the behalf of the American people in terms of the entire national interest, and he favored labor over management. The Federal Reserve began in 1913, so just a few years into Jupiter being retrograde, after the Wall Street panic of 1907, which happened, right as we were heading into Jupiter retrograde, a couple years after Jupiter station retrograde. So there was a lot of interesting things that were happening back then. Uranus will align with a progressed midheaven from 2023 to 2025. So progressed Uranus, progressed midheaven with the Nibod method is actually this year, October 12th, 2023. And then the solar arc midheaven with Uranus will be February 28th of 25, and the progressed midheaven with Uranus will be August 17th of 25. Uranus is natally in our 6th house in the Sagittarius chart and rules the 3rd and rules the moon, which represents the people. So for me, when I see Uranus on the midheaven, I see a revolution of the people and by the people. And the combination of this new moon and Jupiter direct and Uranus on the midheaven lets me know we have the power for a huge revolution and awakening on hand, but it requires that the people, take off their rose-colored glasses and see what's really going on. And it requires that we realize that the change is up to us. It also honestly requires that we're all working with our emotions, because in order to really see what's going on, you have to be okay with grief and rage, because guess what? They're going to come up. And if you can't process your emotions, then you're going to want to just sweep them under the carpet, right? That's that Pluto squaring the South Node in Libra. The next election is in November 2024. The inauguration is January 2025. So we're essentially having these huge things, this progressed new moon, Jupiter station direct, Uranus aligned with the midheaven in this next presidential election and this next 4-year presidency. And I don't like to get political in the sense of telling people what they should do or believe or whatever, but I do want to say more of us that not only want but demand change at all the levels the better, because they say we have the leader that we deserve on a level of consciousness. That's what they say. So we get what we deserve. Where we're at a collective level of consciousness is going to be reflected in the leaders and in the decisions they're making and in the things that are happening. And so simply seeing that there's an invasion and a war in Ukraine, that's reflecting something back to humanity. Yes, we can make it all about Russia and Ukraine and then add in NATO and the United States and all the things, but we can also see it as a symptom of something. And for me, these big things coming into the United States chart shows the potential for a profound and radical shift. I don't know if you've heard, but Marianne Williamson has said she's going to run for president in 2024. She's a spiritual teacher, but she's also a political activist. And she is saying all the things that I want my leader to say and do, and I personally, Bernie was saying all these things too. So I'm going to just leave it at that, because I know politics can be a hot topic thing. What I want us all to just tune into is, what is the world we want to live in? And what are the things that need to happen in order for that to materialize? And so, I'll get off my pipe box or whatever. So this is an image, a papyrus, actually. I call it the Divine Feminine Solar Boat. My first trip to Egypt, when I was going to find a papyrus, I found this. And then all the other times I go to Egypt, when I'm with other people or with my group and I'm trying to find this image, it's been actually hard to find. But I have this, and I have a copy of it. So it's actually from a scene from Nefertari Merimut's, oh my God, not temple, but tomb. Yeah. And so this is her. She's sitting on the boat. These are the primordial waters of Nun beneath her. Over here is Hathor and Ma'at. We've got Isis and Nephthys, the light and the dark twin. And then she is Nefertari Merimut, the queen and the wife of Ramses, but she's also sitting in the position of Mut, the great mother. She has the turkey vulture wings over her head, covering her head. And it's representative of the mother Mut, also of Nekhbet. So why does the feminine need to lead? So remember, judgment, we've got the woman standing taller, receiving the divine harmony from the angel, the divine music, and then she's sharing it with her beloved and her child. We've got the Aquarius card, a woman who's pouring water onto the earth and into the water that she's coming from, or her foot is on. And we've got the beautiful stars of Sirius and the Pleiades there as well. We need to reclaim the feminine, and the feminine needs to lead. We have tried with the masculine leading, and it's led to, the shadow of it has led to war and raping and pillaging of our planet and harming of children and of species and of indigenous people. And there's just, only so much more until we get to a tipping point where we won't be able to backtrack and stop what we've set into motion. And the Age of Aquarius, and particularly Pluto in Aquarius, is a time of bringing that up as for something for us to, contemplate. So in the United States natal chart, we have Moon, which represents the people, conjunct Pallas Athena, the wisdom and warrior goddess. And they're both opposite Hygeia, the goddess of healing, and then Lilith, the fierce, dark feminine. In the Pluto ingress chart, Pluto is preceded by Hygeia. We actually had both of them conjunct at the karmic completion degree on March 3rd. And then Hygeia, ingressed into Aquarius on March 4th. And then Pluto follows suit, on March 23rd. So she is leading, the feminine goddess energy of Hygeia is leading Pluto into Aquarius. Who is she? These are images, Klimt on the left, Paul Rubens on the right, and then the one in the center is a Roman statue, or was it Greek statue? No, it's a Roman statue. So Hygeia is a goddess of health and healing, and she is seen with a chalice or a cup or a bowl with like water or some kind of sacred liquid. And she's seen with a snake, and the snake is drinking the water from the bowl. And this is a common imagery with Hygeia. The chalice or the bowl, of course, is a feminine symbol for the womb. And the serpent is also a primordial mother symbol and a Kundalini Shakti symbol. So we've got Hygeia. She is connected to the word hygiene, which means healthy, sound, hearty, living well. Her name etymologically means vital health, vital force, sorry, life, long life, and eternity. And she is the bringer of health. And she has to do with hygiene physically, but also mental health, emotional health, even spiritual health. She's a good goddess for epidemics. She helps prevent disease. She helps maintain good health. And she's a medicine woman and a healer. And so, again, that bowl is the chalice or the grail, and the serpent is her ally, representing wisdom, but also the power to transmute the poison into the cure, which is representative of the poison of the serpent. And it's the Kundalini serpent power that we all have within us, that for most of us, it's asleep. But when it's awakened, we awaken. And it also helps clear the chakras and balance the body. And so she is leading Pluto into Aquarius. She is often seen as the daughter of Asclepius, who is also a god of healing and health and raising people from the dead, if you know his myth. But actually, there are texts that say she predates him, or she was his partner, that later she was said to be his daughter because she was relegated as, coming after him. But actually, she likely came before him in her essence as the healer, maybe not in the form of Hygeia. And her symbol is the chalice with one serpent. So the womb and one serpent, the feminine serpent. His symbol is a caduceus with two serpents twined. And the caduceus is a phallic symbol. And then the two serpents are the masculine and the feminine working together. So he shows that he is a man balanced with his feminine energy, whereas her symbol is just her with the female serpent and the womb chalice. So we've got Hygeia, the feminine. We've also, I put this in there. I was like, this is my new logo. So I launched my new website with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction back in April of 2022. This logo as a symbol came in like as a full download in 2018. I was like in Europe, and we were like in Glastonbury and going to all these sacred sites and these stone circles and wells, and like, boom, I had this visual and this vision. I had no idea it was a Hygeia symbol. I'd heard of the goddess Hygeia, but I didn't know all her symbolism, and I just, whatever, it did not land. And then later I found out that it actually was a Hygeia, very much a Hygeia symbol. So this is my logo. I have Hygeia in the 10th house of career, trining Saturn in my 6th house of work and health. And she definitely comes through in what I do. So Pluto, when he stations retrograde May 1st, he stations opposite Pallas Athena. And this is another goddess. The exact opposition will be May 3rd. But and that will be at 0 degrees, 22 minutes of Aquarius, the exact, station of Pluto. And then Pallas will move into 0 Leo and oppose Pluto. So the goddess of wisdom and the warrior goddess engages with Pluto as he heads into the underworld. If you can see in the United States natal chart, we have a strong Pallas. We have Pallas on the moon. And Pallas Athena, actually, that's on the next slide. I'll say that in a second. So this represents the public, the people, both of our interest in intelligence and learning and wisdom, but also that shadow of coming from the head and the disembodied mind is also very much there. Here are some beautiful images of Pallas Athena. We've got, where's the names? Okay, upper left is Robert Auer, A-U-E-R. Right hand side is Klimt again. I love that one. It's amazing. And then the statue in the bottom left is from Austria. So we need to reclaim the original essence of Pallas Athena. The modern myth we hear of her is completely a patriarchal rewrite. She springs out of the head of Zeus, fully armored, fully formed. He essentially ate her mother because he was told, just like he did to his father and his father did to his father, that one of his kids was going to take power from him. So he ate the mother when she was pregnant, Metis. And then one day he had a splitting headache and he took an axe and he split his head open, and out sprang Pallas Athena, fully formed and fully armored. So the modern version of her, she wasn't born of her mother's womb. She didn't have a childhood or a vulnerable, innocent period of time. She came out fully formed and armored and ready to go to battle. And this is all a patriarchal rewrite of a more ancient energy of Pallas Athena. Demetra George goes into this in her book, Asteroid Goddesses. And she talks about the ancient connection of Pallas Athena to Neith. Neith is actually the Greek name Roman name of Net or Nit, which is an Egyptian goddess who is seen as the primordial mother. She was there before anything was ever there. She created everything. She was seen as self-created, and she also created everything by parthenogenesis, meaning she didn't have a partner. She created everything within herself. And one of the versions of her, they show her as a her, fully female with an erect penis, showing that she had both essences within herself and she was whole unto herself. And so we need to reclaim the original essence of Pallas Athena. Right now, she's just about war. She often makes decisions that default to men and patriarchal rule in the various myths. She, for example, Medusa got raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple. Guess what? Athena got mad at Medusa. Medusa was human, and she got raped by a god. And Athena got mad at her and then cursed her. And that's why she had all the snakes in her hair. And then at a certain point, she told Perseus to go kill her and cut her head off. And, it's so much violence actually in these myths. And so we need to reclaim the original essence of what Athena was before. And I think it's important for the United States too. So she is a warrior goddess, but she takes a stand for truth. She's a seer of truth. She's a weaver of the cosmos. That's what Neith is seen as, or Nit. Pallas Athena and Net are both associated with owls and snakes. Owl sees everything. Snake is a primordial mother symbol. This is a quote that Neith said and later gets attributed to Isis. I am all that has been, all that is, and all that will be, and no mortal has raised my veil. So she was whole unto herself. She was the self-generating creatrix. And I kind of wonder if Athena sprang fully formed from Zeus's head, because when they were taking the older mythos and the matriarchal, deities, and then they had to rewrite the myths to have more patriarchal bent, they would marry off the powerful goddesses to gods, and they would transfer the powers over to the male gods. And so I feel like Athena and her ancient, Neith kind of symbol or whatever archetype was so significant to the people that they couldn't just, rewrite it entirely. So the fact that she springs fully formed out of his head, I feel like is almost like a nod to the fact that she was fully formed before anything else. She was there for so long. Like you couldn't make up a story of her being born because there wasn't one. So they had to make the story of cut his head open and out she comes. Anyhow, that's my take on it. I'm actually going to have a new class coming out. It'll be later in the year, so be on my newsletter list. That's where I'll announce it. The Alchemy of the Asteroid Goddesses. And we are going to talk about Ceres and Juno and Pallas Athena and Vesta. And we're going to talk about the older mythos as well as the modern. And we're going to talk about them in the context of alchemy. And I won't go into that anymore right now, but it's coming and I'm excited about it. So there's just a few more slides and then we'll get to Q&A. I don't even know what time it is. Oh, okay. I think we're good. I said it was going to be 2 hours and that we're going to have Q&A after. So it looks like I'm on time. And I'm sorry I couldn't be looking at people's chat. It's distracting anyhow to do that, but the way this has happened is weird. These are the major Pluto and Aquarius transits incoming during the 40-year period of time. 20 years, sorry, till 2044. So we're going to have Neptune and Aries sextile Pluto and Aquarius from 2026 to 2032. That's a 6-year sextile transit. And actually, we're in the crescent phase of a Neptune-Pluto cycle that began in 1891. And we've been having the sextile move in and out of sextile from the 50s. 1950 to 56 was the first sextile, then 76 to 86, which is when I was born in 78. And then we're having it again 2026 to 2032. Our next conjunction is not till 2385. So it's like a 500-year cycle. The first square isn't going to be till 2061. Anyhow, so this is like a long crescent phase of these two outermost planets. I mean, Eris is now the outermost, but before she was discovered, those two were out in, in the unconscious, in the realms of what was out in the far reaches of the solar system. And it's a harmonious aspect. It's linking, the planet of the higher heart and the planet of the higher will in signs of action, Aries, and humanity, and higher mind, Aquarius. Pluto align with the North Node in Aquarius 2027, and that can be another major turning point in the Age of Aquarius energies and a chapter or a new volume, who knows, being written. North Node is destiny and evolution. It's in Aquarius, and it's, conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. 2026 to 28, we're going to have Uranus in Gemini trine Pluto. And actually, both of them are going to be aligning with the North Node. Pluto conjunct the North Node, Uranus trine the North Node in 2027. So that's going to be amazing. Uranus, innovation, rebellion, change, shift, and Pluto, transformation and empowerment. And in the two human signs, 2 of the 3 human signs, again, this is in the next presidency, the next, whoever is the president, if it's still Biden or if it's someone else, like we've got like epic astrology coming in the next inauguration. Saturn in Taurus will square Pluto 2028 to 2029. That can be definitely a challenging time of checking in on, especially if we're in the shadow of Aquarius with too much AI and tech, and we're not like taking care of the earth or our bodies or our health, which Taurus represents. That can be brought up. And then we'll have Chiron square Pluto in Aquarius, also from Taurus. We're going to have a Saturn Chiron conjunction in 2028, and then they're both squaring Pluto over the next couple of years. And that can bring some get real moments around the earth, around the environment, around climate change. I recommend we get on board with all that so that we don't need to wait for something, to happen then that shocks everyone into waking up. So I am going to do a guided meditation, and it was very spontaneous. I just added this slide in this morning. I was like, can I do this? Because anyhow, I was like, I have to, there's school and whatever, but we're going to do a meditation. We're going to meet at 7:45. I'll probably log in 5 minutes earlier. I'll send the link out to you through, the email that I send out after this. And it will be, the actual ingress is at, what did I say? 8:13 a.m., 8:14. So we will do it through as Pluto ingresses. And it's just going to be, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I haven't prepared anything yet. And maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just channel it. Let Asha come through. We'll see. But maybe if you want to join me, you can. I know it's early. And it'll be recorded and probably put on my YouTube channel. Either that or I'll send it out. So if you can't, I totally understand. I just want to say, come join Star Family Community. I don't post on social media very much these days anymore, a little bit here and there, but I'm now actually exclusively posting my daily astrology updates in my own private community space There's no ads, there's no data harvesting. It's just, and it's in my Kajabi online classroom as a product. And if you download the app and, turn on notifications, you'll get the daily update will come to you as like a little notification. I will put the links to these various things I've been mentioning in a moment in the chat, and I'll send it out in email. Also, I usually have people ask if they can give a donation because I do these free classes all the time. I love them. I have so much fun doing these free classes. I'm not expecting a donation, but I do inevitably get people asking. And if you feel to, you can. And there is a link that I will put. And now we're going to the Q&A. So I need to figure out how to do this. Actually, I know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. So the chat. For some reason, the chat disappeared. Social comments are displayed here. Maybe. Nope. Are you guys still there? Can you see me? I look frozen. I don't know why. Let me turn this off and turn it back on. Are you there? Huh. Is anyone there? Let's see. I'm just going to check and see if this is still happening. I don't know what happened, and I don't even know when it happened. Divine Harmony. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Here we go. I'm going to the YouTube channel to see if I'm still streaming because I have no idea. Oh yeah, I'm still there. Yeah, it's weird, you guys. It's something happened. Something happened on Restream, but I can see you, so whatever. It's good. So let me just make sure this is on mute so I can't hear anything. Yeah. Okay, great. So I can answer any questions, and it's funny looking at myself because there's a delay. So I'm seeing myself do things after I do them, which is really strange. I'll try not to look at myself. It's kind of distracting. But if there's any questions, I want to answer them. So yeah, this was a little strange with Restream. I don't know why it did that. So you've been live the whole time. Great. Does anybody have questions? And I'm not going to put anything in the chat right now with links. I'm going to send it out afterwards because the links are on that computer and I'm looking at you on this computer. Got to just surrender. So what are your thoughts on the various Pluto generations' role in this move for Pluto and Aquarius? Well, that's actually a great question. So I think that individually, and I'm not getting, just to be clear, I'm not going to answer questions about personal charts because the whole focus of this class has been the mundane, the collective, humanity, the archetype, the symbolism, that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to answer personal questions because then it can go into all kinds of directions. And honestly, without seeing a chart, it's hard. But from like a collective or generational perspective, which was a great question, you can literally look at it. And this might be a little over the head of anybody who's kind of new to astrology. But for example, like I'm the Pluto and Libra generation. So let's assume whatever generation you're in, that's the first house. So if I'm Pluto and Libra, I'm going to have Libra in the first house with Pluto and Libra in the first house. So Pluto's moving into Aquarius. That would be in the fifth house. Aquarius would be 5 houses from Libra, from the first house. So for me, for the Pluto and Libra generation, it's going to be like a Pluto fifth house transit. Like, Pluto and Libra, we were born in a generation about relationships transforming, but also dying, you know, the death of marriage as we thought of it in the 50s and so on and so forth. And so then Pluto moving into like the collective generational fifth house, it's like, what does it mean to live from the truth of our heart? What does it mean to love all of humanity? Fifth house, love, romance. Sorry, I'm looking, I need to look over here. I'm looking at the chat and I need to look over here at the video. So that would be one way to look at it. Obviously, on a personal level, each person needs to individually look at their chart and see what house is it in. You know, do you have anything at 0 Aquarius or 0 Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, so that it's, you know, triggering it, or any of those, anywhere in any of those signs, because eventually it will be conjunct opposite square. But that would be the way that I would look at it in terms of generational. I would literally look at it, the houses, and what is it, you know, because also when Pluto, for example, with Pluto in Libra, sorry, I am using myself as an example. When it's in Aquarius, that's a trine. There's commonality. So that's a more harmonious shift for my generation than it might be for the Pluto and Leo generation. The Pluto and Leo generation, Pluto and Aquarius is going to, you know, be opposing your Pluto. And so you have to look at where Pluto is in his cycle in regards to your natal Pluto, and then you look at that from a generational perspective. Might be worth doing like a blog or a video just on the different generations and answering that for the rest of them. But that's what I'll say for now. So let's see. I'm just looking through. Do you see anything about continents changing their landscapes? Well, there's a lot of things that I see that's going to be happening with the environment and with the earth, especially if we don't start like doing some big shifts like ASAP, like yesterday. But, you know, that to me is very Uranus and Taurus, actually. Pluto in Aquarius is more about the mind and the mental space and humanity and AI, you know, and it could be like the technology that's affecting the earth for sure. But Uranus and Taurus is more about the earth for me, anyhow. Let's see. Tell us what the transits mean for us this year. We have the dates. You mean the ones that I went over in the slide? Because I did describe them. I'm not sure. Or do you mean the bigger ones? I did describe some of them. I mean, if I went and did deep dives on each of them, the webinar would have been like 4 hours. And I already like tend to, my webinars are kind of long, so I was trying to be succinct. Channy Nicholas just wrote an interesting article about the Pluto generations. I love Channy. She is a sister. I haven't seen her article though, but I love her and her work. Let's see. Baby boomers have Pluto and Leo. Aquarius opposes. Stage and audience shadow stuff. Well, I mean, yeah, you can also just, for that one particularly, you can look at the Leo Aquarius axis, because Leo is me and Aquarius is we. And ultimately, we want to have a balance of it. If we're only we don't stand up for ourselves. We don't do what we need for ourselves and our health, you know, but too much me is narcissism. And, you know, we're unfortunately, especially in the Western world, there's a lot of like, what's in it for me, you know, and I want to win, or I want to be famous, or I want to whatever. And we don't come necessarily from this place of what is best for humanity, what is best for everyone. And that's more of an Aquarian kind of, you know, high side of the Aquarian consciousness. So the Leo Aquarius axis can be about that. Keep in mind, when we're in an age like the age of Aquarius, and Aquarius is rising before the sun on the spring equinox, well, guess what's setting on the other side? Leo. And actually, one of the more ancient ways of calculating ages was to see what was rising at fall equinox, not spring equinox. And that's like, can take you down a whole other rabbit hole. But, you know, so the ages, when one's rising, one's setting. So you already have to understand it in context of the two of the axis. Let's see. Thanks a lot. Great. See you in our last class. I know, I'm so excited. So, let me just share. So I'm the 12 2+ hour classes plus the 13th closing class for Stargate Mystery School is going to be 444 only for this week through March 25th. And I'll send it out in a follow-up email. And then I'm also giving 20% off of my courses, Astrology in Your Shadow, Embodied Astrology, Foundations, and Intermediate Level 1, 2, and 50% off of Masterclasses, Aries, Sirius, Age of Aquarius, Regulus, and Regulus Precessing in Virgo, and Lionsgate. I'll send it out in the follow-up email. And then, of course, I have the Asteroid Goddess class that's coming up that I'm very excited about. So if you purchase Stargate, just to be clear, you will only get access starting April 19th because I need to teach the last class to my students in mystery school. And then I need to, reshift the classroom and remove like the Zoom sign up and whatever, because you don't need to sign up for Zoom. You'll get access to everything on demand immediately. So let's see. Do you see humanity? Do you see us? Sorry, Barbara. Do you see us moving into two different types of humanity? One that's AI based and one that's more Saturnine based on old ways and living from the land in an organic way. Well, it kind of reminds me of that image of the robot angel and then the nature angel embracing each other. I don't want to see that. I want to see an integration. I want to see right use of tech and right honoring of nature and balance. I would hate to see that split because to me, more splits is not what we need. We need to find a path forward together. I don't know if I would call this a Saturn way, being more connected to nature and living from the land. Although I guess I understand, saying Saturn from the past, the old way of doing. But Saturn's also the patriarchy and corporations and big business. For me, the living close to the land is more like the moon and Venus. I don't know. Anyhow, that's the essence that I feel, but I hadn't really thought about that. It's just popped in. How can we use the transiting Pluto aspect in key natal placements for our personal growth and avoiding the fear factor? Well, I recommend working with fear, not avoiding the fear, because when fear comes up, it's there because it's there. Like there's something in the unconscious that's triggering the fear. So just going over it or avoiding it or having, transcendent practices that help us go up into the transpersonal realm but still don't serve us and going down and in is not going to be useful. So Pluto to me is kind of like Kali, in the Indian lore. She's this goddess that if you see her, she's like got her tongue hanging out with blood on it. She's got like skulls and she looks like really scary. But what she's doing is she's making you face your fear, and it's the ego that's got fear, and all the things that she's cut the heads off of are like the ego aspects that think they're the all. And so I remember when I went to India, I had a dream of Kali, and I loved Kali, and I met this Indian guy, and he's like, "You love Kali?" And he's like, "She's scary." And then this teacher told me, he's like, "She appears to you scary when you need to face your fear. And then once you've faced it, she transforms into the loving mother that she actually is." And then there's cycles of that. So it's not to say I saw her loving, so I've done all my Pluto work. Nope, she'll appear. She'll be, fierce and intense when I need her to be again. Like, because then I go to a deeper layer. Pluto is like that. So the intensity that Pluto brings is always serving us to go deeper. So it's about working with that. I feel like when we work with the planetary energies and the archetypal energies consciously, that we start collaborating. The Lord of the Underworld takes us deeper and we face our fear and our shadow, but we do it from a place of choice instead of being dragged, right? So for me, I'm a big proponent of shadow work and therapy and healing work and somatic work because I feel like that's where the work lies. Where for humanity, the transpersonal and the spiritual and the esoteric are amazing, and they're inspiring and they're enlightening and they're illuminating. But if we don't come all the way down and in, we're floating off the planet. And we actually need everybody here now. Be here now, as Ram Dass said. So let me see. Oh boy, there's a lot. Hold on. Pluto, more free rides on the roller coaster. Hi, Priya. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. Uranus, ruler of Aquarius, is in Taurus. Harmony with nature is imperative to sustainable development for the collective and personal future. Yes. And I want to say that, so the Ohio train thing. So Uranus had just moved into 15 degrees 0 minutes of Taurus. And then we had the precise solar gate of Beltane, which calendar Beltane is May 1st, but solar Beltane is actually May 4th or 5th. It changes each year. It's when the sun hits 15 Taurus. So we essentially had, Imbolc, solar Imbolc. We're not at Beltane yet. Imbolc, which was February 3rd or 4th. I'm sorry, I don't have it written down the exact date. And literally the derailment of the train happened the moment Uranus crossed at the mid-fixed degree and squared the sun at the mid-fixed degree. Uranus is the rebel and revolutionary, but he's also the planet of upheaval and change. And he's in Taurus, and he's in a sign that's all about the earth. And it's about our resources and, our air and our water and our food. And we unfortunately have all kinds of crap going into them. We're dumping excess radiation into the ocean, and trains are dumping their crap into the rivers, and we've got things going into the air and into the food. And it's just like, it seems like insanity to me. It's just like, who in their right mind looks at this as a leader and says, oh yes, this is the path to the future? It's nuts. And this is why I think we need less insane people leading, or more appropriately, people who are willing to take a stand, like an activist and a warrior, and protect the earth in a more fierce way. So how different are the progressed calculations? You can do it on astro.com. You can do it on software. It varies. Like I can't do it right now to show you, but it's usually like a degree or two difference. But those same progressed angles will show up in the solar arc chart. So I get those angles when I do solar arcs, and then I get the other angle when I IBOD. I just studied it enough after I got introduced to it by Dawn. And she's just like amazing. Like she's just like this Virgo detailed teacher who just, I just loved her, and I pretty much trusted anything she said, which is funny because I'm the kind of person that's like, I need to research it for myself first. And I did still, but I believed her like right from the beginning. I was like, okay, you're right. And then I studied it to, make sure that I wasn't just, but she just was so salt of the earth and devoted to her craft. So anyhow, let's see. Sorry, everything is going a little fast. Many of my friends are going off Facebook. Yep, because of data mining. I'm sort of still on it, but it's just, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I had to put my Instagram on private because people kept like copying my account and then hitting people up in the DMs. Oh, I was reading your energy and you have a bright aura. Do you want a reading? Send me money. And then some people thought it was me. And, so I had to put it on private. I'm barely on it. Yeah, I'm not down with the data harvesting. I think it's very concerning. So let's see. What are my thoughts on new Earth and dimensional shifts? For me, new Earth is old Earth. Like, it's going back to like, the best of the past, but then bring in the best of the present and future, and then integrate it all, So definitely the age of Aquarius is completely tied into the new Earth because it's a new age, and it's about this opportunity for a profound shift of humanity, but it's like going to take work. So it's not a silver spoon in the mouth. It's like on offer, but we have to rise to the occasion. So I don't know if that entirely answers your question, but oops, Sorry, what happened? Okay. Is there a goddess that's the twin aspect for Pluto? Yes. Well, for me, it's Black Moon Lilith. Although I will say, the original discoverer of Eris wanted to name her Persephone, and then couldn't because an asteroid was already named Persephone. I talk about this all, the naming and the etymology of the names in the Eris Masterclass. But Eris has like that kind of association, especially being further than Pluto and all the way out there. And also the discovery of Eris led to the demotion of Pluto. Remember when Pluto was demoted? You can thank Eris. And I talk about that in the class. Personal question, what would you say? I can't answer personal questions about personal charts, just because if everybody did it, and I just wouldn't be able to. So hi, darling. Thank you for this deep dive. I love you. Okay, let me see. What happened? Okay. Could you tell again the name of the teacher? Oh, Dawn Bodrogi. DAWNBODO, BODROGI. Bodrogi. Her website is theinnerwheel.com. And again, she passed away a couple years ago, so she's not alive anymore, but her work is still out there. Her blogs are amazing, especially if you want to learn about Chiron. So how about working together as in community? Yes, definitely. You know, Aquarius is the sign of humanity, community, friendships, groups, joining forces with others with common vision and purpose. I mean, again, anything that comes in, there is the highest light, and then there's the deepest shadow, and then it's up to each of us to choose what we're gonna bring through. So again, the more people that are working to bringing through the conscious and positive, you know, associations of this energy, the better. And I really feel like in order to do that, we need to be doing our individual shadow work, emotional work, somatic body work, because it's in these two elemental realms, water and earth, the feminine elements that have to do with emotions and feelings in our body. Those are the way that we bring the feminine back into balance. And also, those are simply ways to allow your feminine to lead. So your intuition and your feeling, you know, many of us have been taught from since we were young, oh, that's fantasy based, that's magical thinking, you're making that up, oh, it's just your feelings, you're over emotional. Guess what? Your feelings and your intuition are guiding you. And you actually need to listen to them. And then your body too. Have you ever been in like a situation where you're with someone and your stomach just like goes, ugh, and you get this strong feeling like that is not the person for me to be in a business partnership with, to trust, to date, whatever. Your body is a barometer. Your body and your emotions both guide you. Of course, you have to learn to understand them, because intuition is easy to confuse with fear or fantasy. You know, is it my intuition or am I afraid and I'm spinning out? And so I'm saying it's an intuition. Or is it an intuition or it's like a fantasy projection and I'm, you know, thinking it's intuition. So we have to work with things on a deep level to understand. And that's why emotional work is so important. That's why I taught astrology in your shadow, because I literally saw in the astrology community so much heady stuff, knowledge, information, techniques, looking up at the sky, looking down at the chart, and there was a lot of disconnect from the body and from emotions. And so shadow astrology in your shadow is all about working with the shadow and emotions through the vehicle of the chart. And then embodied astrology is all about working with the planets and the signs in a somatic way to bring them down and in. I was doing that when I was in my 20s. I didn't know I was doing it, though. I didn't know what I was doing. But I would feel energies, like I would feel the signs, and I would feel like Saturn, and I could feel Saturn is like grounding and rooting, like, you know, my root chakra. I could feel my feet when they would like sink into the earth, and it would have like this energy that felt like very Saturnine, or, you know, whatever. I could feel the essences. And so I was already starting to bring them into my body. I just didn't exactly know I was doing that. Like, it wasn't until later I started doing shadow work that I started connecting the dots. Anyhow, So if you have interest, I'm offering those classes 20% off on demand. I don't know when I'm teaching them live again. I get emails asking me. I just taught astrology in your shadow in September of 2020. Embodied astrology was end of 2021. But I now have new classes I want to teach. You know, I want to do the Alchemy of the Goddesses class. I have my mentorship that I'm still in the process of writing and launching. Originally, it was supposed to maybe launch in May, but it's being pushed back probably to September at this point. I lead Sacred Journeys, and I'm in the midst of trying to put together an Egypt trip, and there's just been a lot of delays on details and figuring it out, so I haven't put that out there yet. And there was something, well, there's actually more. I have like a list of like 10 other courses that I want to teach that I have to find time for. So I don't know when I'll teach it again live, but it's definitely, you know, great to tune into on demand. Will you resume readings again? I don't know. I've been on hiatus for like a year now, and in part because I've been focusing on teaching and moving to the East Coast, and now I'm putting the mentorship program together. So I'm not sure, but I do have a list, a contact list, so that when I do, I email those people first before I publicly announce it. So if you're interested in being on that list, you can email me through my website, divineharmony.com. There's a contact form. Or you can also email me. It's dhassistant13@gmail.com. But probably the contact form is easier. Hi, Renee. Are you feeling that your movies has been a more conducive placement personally for the next era? You know, I have. We love it here. What I love about Asheville are the mountains and the ancient. It's like the Smoky Mountains and the Blue Ridge Mountains. They're some of the oldest mountain ranges on the planet, and there's this deep ancient Native American energy here that just feels so rich and beautiful to me. But I've kind of been like, you know, a horse with blinders on. I've been, you know, doing my daughter stuff and doing my work. So I haven't done a ton in the community here. I haven't had time. So I'm hoping to find more time for that. And we've just been trying to find our place we want to settle, because it's actually very spread out here. I am Hawaiian. I mean, my heart, part of it is in Hawaii, and I miss Hawaii, but I'm a single mom and I want to buy a house, and that's not possible in Hawaii right now for me. So, but I do love it. And we have a ton. Oh, tarot. Yes. I have a tarot class that I want to teach that I just had a lot of people ask about. I've just been studying tarot since like 2008 and 9 I started, but then I deeply started in 2012. And I weave it into things all the time, as you just saw in this class. So I'm going to teach a tarot class. I've had enough people ask, and I love the tarot. It goes really well with astrology. And I weaved it into Stargate Mystery School too. So that's on the list as well. So are there any other questions? And if not, we can wrap up. And I'm sorry about the weird format. Anyhow, whatever, worked out. I will send a follow-up email. There'll be a replay that goes out. It will be available until March 25th, end of day, just like a limited replay. And I will send out the links for the discount on Stargate Mystery School. That class has just been so much fun to teach. Oh my God. And I'll send out the coupon codes for the discounts on the classes, and all of that expires at the end of the day, March 25th. So the replay, the coupons, and the discount on Stargate. And then I'll also just include links to like my blog on the United States Pluto return, my free solar gate call for spring equinox, my newsletter list, so you can sign up if you're not on it, Star Family if you want to join. If there was something else there I was supposed to send, I'll hopefully remember to send it. And my website is divineharmony.com, so you can go visit it and find a lot of things. Can anyone recommend anyone you recommend who's working with earth and water cleansing? Well, earth and water cleansing. You mean people are working with the elements of earth and water, or actually helping to clean the water and the earth? Like, groups. Sorry, I wasn't exactly clear. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I recently ran across the mini planet Chariklo. Yes, Chiron's wife. Have you heard anything about her? Yes, I have heard about her. I've been studying her. I tend to like to study things for like at least several years before I start teaching it, because I don't know. That's how I do it. So I have been studying her, and I know she's Chiron's wife, and maybe I can start sharing in a blog or something, but I have. But I don't speak to her because I've still been studying her for myself in my own charts, and then looking at her in like mundane charts. So thank you, everyone, for being here with me, and I hope you have a beautiful weekend. And again, we've got spring equinox Monday, 5:24 p.m. We've got the new moon Tuesday at 1:23 p.m. I have the free solar gate call up, the lunar insights up. The lunar gate call should be up by tomorrow. It was supposed to be up sooner than now, but there's a lot going on this week. And then we have Pluto moving into Aquarius. I hope you'll join me for a meditation Thursday morning, 7:45 a.m. Probably I'll get on at 7:40 just to get settled. And I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll be doing something. And we can just be together as we open the gateway for Pluto to move into tropical Aquarius, for Pluto to move into the beginning of the celestial sea with the winged messengers above of Aquila and Lyra and Cygnus over the primordial waters of Nun that we're heading into. More on that on Thursday. So hopefully you'll join, or you can watch. So thank you. Thank you. Sending so much love. Bye. It won't let me end. There we go. Bye.